I count 14
Okay.
questions.
Well done.
Thanks.
Did you guys know each other before working on this project?
No.
Surprisingly, no.
I was wondering, what was y'all's first impressions of each other, and has it changed at all since doing this project?
You know what? It's so funny because we have done hundreds of interviews, and the one thing that, although it sounds very repetitive, I've never felt remotely uncomfortable about answering is a question in relation to how close we all are. There's no need to put on any act or force anything. I can honestly say I've never felt closer to a group of people that I've worked with or that I've just met ever. Like, I mean, I think, I've made a genuine group of best friends out of the experience, and it was something that, of course, was really, really helpful when it came to portraying our characters on screen and conveying an organic sense of togetherness as a group of gladers. But, more importantly, moreover, it set us up beautifully for the next couple of films, that we have that natural camaraderie, and also just in life that we've just become so close. Like, just have amazing friends out of this experience is a huge, huge bonus.
And I think that was from the very beginning as well. It wasn't ever awkward from day one. I met Dylan first and I fell in love with him straight away. I knew he was going to be Thomas. I knew that we'd have a friendship and an honest friendship with each other. Will was like a piece of home to me. It was like we could talk about London and music and stuff, and each person just had something that straight away we were like, oh, I love that about you. Talk to me. Tell me about that. From the very, very beginning. And it, thank God, it's just not changed at all a year later.
Oh man, yeah. It's just only gotten stronger. All of our bonds, we just have dear friends for life, and it's so rare. We got so lucky, because I just don't think that happens all the time. You hear such horror stories, and like what Will said is just so spot on. It's like, the one thing we never feel awkward about answering is literally just like talking about one another. It's like it's just so truly ingrained in us to just love one another. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's amazing.
Cool, thank
Yeah.
you.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah. How you doing?
This is obviously director Wes Ball's, first kind of real major feature film to direct. Talk about, what it was like working with him, what you expected going into it, what you took away from it, learning curve, things like that.
Yeah. Well, step by step, Wes just becomes every day, even still, just more and more impressive as a director, as a person. I want nothing but great things for his career, but I'm just so confident that that's what's to come. The fact that we're in his first movie is going to be a huge thing one day. It'll just be something that we'll always just be kind of so giddy and proud about. He's so impressive on so many levels, and the first thing that I saw of his was his short Ruin, and it's absolutely mind-blowingly special. And when you hear too, the little anecdotes about it, he made it by himself, in his own, on his own computer over the course of 7-8 months, and did it for less than 10 grand. I mean, and it looks like a James Cameron short. It's unbelievable, really, truly special. And then also to tie in his feel for storytelling, his just overall passion, how he is as a human being to work with. He's just the nicest, most calm. Never raises his voice.
I've never had him raise his voice.
Not a single time. He's just, he's so stoic and confident and not a shred of arrogance, and just so unbelievably talented. There's a lot more we can say too. I just wanted to cut myself off.
That's it. That's
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
How is it being the only woman in a cast full of men? Were they protective or competitive or?
Yeah, well, it's weird, At first, I was really.
Kaya's like, thank you for taking that one off me as well. I'm
Go,
surprised
Dylan, go.
Yeah.
Both of you, just do
I
it.
understand, too, the question, just because it was at first a little nerve-wracking. No, let's get real. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I genuinely, I never thought of it like I was the only girl. I never felt like the only girl. We're not kids, we're actors. We take our job seriously, and we're people first. And that's all I felt on set. I felt like a person, and then I felt like a friend, and then I felt like a family. I never felt like the only girl there. And I think that's a testament to all the boys, that they didn't change their behaviour for me. They didn't, there was no bullshit. They were themselves, and we just got on as people, and that's all there is to it. I can't think of it as, I don't feel like the only girl there. I know that doesn't make sense, because I was, but
No,
Yeah.
no, it does make total sense. We were allowed to fart around her and do all that kind of stuff. It was
I
great.
actually fart louder than both of them
That's
put
true.
together, so
We
that's
were
fine.
holding in farts until Kaya farted, and then when she did, we were like, oh, my gosh, for that. Let's just all fart, you know. Yeah. Donna's freaking out at the back there. She's like, he's talking about farting again.
What do you think makes this movie unique, and what do you think distinguishes it from other science fiction movies?
It's you know, a lot of things, and we've again, this is another thing that's like really comfortable and genuine for us to talk about because we so truly believe that it is unique and that it definitely, you know, once it comes out, I think finally this will all stop just because it stands itself apart in so many ways. We can point out specifics like you know, there's no romance at the head of it, and that kind of like applies to the whole overall you know, real aspect of the film, like, because why would there be a romance in this situation, you know? Just to appease audiences, just to make a movie out of it. You know, this is a real world, and first and foremost, we tried to make it as real and gritty as we possibly could, and that plays into it. Another you know, theme that is completely different, I think, from these other films is like, you know, the pitting kids against one another, the competition thing is like, it's just so the opposite of what is conveyed here. You know, this is about coming together. This is about brotherhood and family and camaraderie and, you know, strength in coming together rather than fighting one another. And yeah, it's just so many things. And again, it's just the real aspect. You know, like it's real. We're really dirty. We weren't worried about being pretty. We were actually trying to intentionally not be pretty because we were so sick of these really raw stories, like, but then having these very pretty, you know, aesthetic feel to them, like when they get lifted to the big screen, and they're still great, but it's like, you know, there's something missing there. There's an authenticity that isn't there that we were really trying to focus on here. Like, we wanted it to be, you know, if someone gets punched in the face, they're gonna have a welt the size of, you know, rather than just having like a little, like nothing or nothing, you know, and just having a face full of makeup. You know, there's no makeup. It is all sweat. It is all real dirt. If anything, they had to like, you know, pat us, take the sweat off a little bit because we were in real conditions and just tried to make it as real as possible, you know.
And to have that question as well is the golden question. It's very well worded because, you know, I think the easier and more common question is, so you're like the Hunger Games and Divergent, right?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
we had an
appreciate
interview
that,
and it was ended with, you know, like, it's just like Hunger Games and Divergent, that's why I love it. And
Oh
we were
man,
like,
that
whoa,
that was crazy.
You know,
Like,
and
okay,
so-
you didn't get it at all.
and you said, you know, what's unique about it, and that's exactly it. That, you know, there is a lot unique about it, and it is standalone film, and we can't wait for people who may be skeptical to be surprised, and we can't wait for the people who, you know, have already seen it to champion it further, and for it to just, you know, stand alone and establish itself as a good movie in its own right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the movie.
Cheers
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks a
It
lot.
was so cute.
I'll try and be younger. I'm curious. I thought there was so much more CGI, and then I come to find out that a lot of it wasn't, and you actually had that much space and area. What was it like being able to play in that area and be a part of that whole arena? I mean, most movies could cheat and make it look a certain way, but y'all were there.
That's a great word, play. It was like playtime. It was like taking acting back to theatre in Shakespearean times. It was just like, let's go into this world and imagine it and immerse ourselves into it, and it just feel like we're doing a movie. It was special. And it really meant a lot to us as actors to have that space. Me especially, I've never worked with green screen. I've never really done an action movie. A lot of my stuff is very character driven. So to get to have real things and to have the heat and the sweat and just wood and materials and goats, it's like, wow, this is amazing. And it gives you that energy, it gives you that thrill that you just can't replace in any other way.
Yeah.
We're all so grateful that we got to have, they grew corn, they built a pond, it was like a giant playground.
Yeah, that glade that you see in the movie is really there, and we were really in it, shooting in it every day. There's no cheats geographically; it is all there.
It's huge.
You know, and you know, one of the opening shots of the film, like after the elevator or after the box ride up, you know, and those doors go open again. Like that's something that you could so even just guess that's on a stage or something like that. But that is actually just in the ground in the midst of that. In the midst of that glade, with with an operator,
correct.
geographically still correct. Like we had all the gladers, you know, come around and like see Thomas for the first time, and I'm actually in that box that is actually built into the ground, and there's a camera operator with me in there doing that shot up into the real sun. You know, it is all completely authentic, and it just goes back to that just authentic feel that we were trying to get. And again, as actors, there's just nothing, there's nothing else better than being able to just constantly feel like you are actually immersed in that world. There's never a moment where we are just, in blue suits on a blue screen with a blue floor and blue things everywhere, and just like we had to be like, okay, now you're in the glade, and just picture that the treehouse is there, and we were always there in the world. Everything's there, and just enhanced visually. Then, it's great. So lucky.
Well, the film is incredibly intense, and the material is so intense. But you guys had your jokey and really very charming individuals. But what sort was there? How did you guys unwind? Is there a prankster that was like on set with you guys, or anything like that? Anybody that played pranks against each other?
All of us.
Everyone.
All, yeah, kind
There
of
wasn't one
goofballs.
serious person.
No. And
Except
it was,
when we call roll.
yeah, that was the awesome thing, is that the process of filming. Yeah, no, exactly, very professional. The process, was kind of in two parts, and when I say process, I refer to the process of us all coming together as a group and forming genuine bonds and being very, very close, and two, the actual shooting of dialogue. When it came to the shooting of dialogue, it was a very serious professional environment, probably one of the most serious and professional I've experienced, and it was very productive too, and there were very in-depth discussions about our characters and our relationships, and we really worked to kind of carve that out. But at the same time, some of the most outrageous goofiness and joking around and pranking that you've ever seen take place in a workplace, let alone a film set. Like,
And filmed this serious too.
Right. And we just, for that reason, it was just the ultimate well-rounded experience. It
There's
was
20 minutes of footage apparently of us just fucking about.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Literally.
Considering like the amount of time that we had to shoot this in too, like it was amazing the balance that we had with just everything we just talked about, like like all of us just being able to have fun the entire day, every day, and then also when it came down to it though, it was work time, and we were all so passionate about the story, and so I've also it's also really hard sometimes when you become so close like we did. It's almost harder you would think to like then take all of ourselves seriously in the scenes like with each other, and that didn't exist at all in this movie. We all like respect each other so much as actors, learn so much from one another, and we're just so down to just get serious when it was time to get serious every day. And then it was like little break time, we can and then it's just our natural friendship would ensue.
It's like we were comfortable enough to be able to do that. We were so comfortable with each other as people that we could respect each other as actors and as goofballs, and it's like the purest form of friendship almost.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, there are no Oscars for being the biggest goofball, though, which is upsetting, isn't it?
And the award for biggest goofball goes to the entire Maze Runner cast. We're all just like,
All 48 of us get up on stage, yeah.
take a whoopee cushion. That's our speech.
And walk off.
Good afternoon.
Hey man.
Good afternoon.
Obviously, y'all are big fans of movies. What are some of your favorite scenes from movies that y'all grew up that have
I love these
always
questions.
excited you, stuff like that?
I'm a huge old school action film fan. I love Terminators. I love any Arnold Schwarzenegger early film. I'm obsessed with them. It's what I watched as a kid, and I just felt such a thrill from. It wasn't anything about acting or the art of it. I just got a thrill watching these movies. And I used to look through the Radio Times and try and find his name and see what movie he was in that week, and I'd watch it just because of him. But my favorite scene of all time is Alfred Molina in Boogie Nights, right at the end. I just think it's the most intense but funny, crazy, messed up scene, and the little Asian guy and the firecrackers, and then Jesse's girl comes on, and you're just like, oh, this movie's amazing.
That's hilarious.
I love that scene.
I think from an acting perspective, one of my favourite scenes of all time is between Matt Damon and Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting on the bench. And Robin Williams tells what is at that point quite an obnoxious, younger, immature Will about what life's really about. And I was an obnoxious little kid who thought he kind of knew
Named Will.
everything
Yeah,
and
and
was
Will as well.
overly mature and Will. And I had my dad I'm still a Will actually, and sit down next to me. I'm still a Will, and now I know everything. And I had my dad sit down with me and tell me, tell me some home truths. Tell me, what life was really about. And it's just a scene that's very kind of touching to me. But in close relation to this movie, I was obsessed with Titanic. James Cameron is a hero of Wes's, and Wes is someone I genuinely believe who could become a James Cameron. I think he's potentially a James Cameron of our generation. And there are scenes in Titanic that are so phenomenal because just like Wes, James Cameron manages to create an incredible visual experience with unbelievable drama and action unfolding, but the relationship between two characters, which in this case was actually a romantic one as opposed to our ones, the relationship between the characters is never impeded on, it's never infringed in any way, it's still as strong, you're still as emotionally engaged in it. You know, while they're on a ship that's hit a giant iceberg and is sinking rapidly, you still feel a total emotional connection to those two characters, and that's genius filmmaking.
I mean, there's, this is always such a hard question because it's like endlessly you could talk about this and you'd have to think about it all day almost. Things that I think of like off the top of my head though, I was like, the things that's The Godfather for me. I mean, I know it's like, it's one of the. I mean, it's just for me as a kid though. It's really, really when like I started taking film seriously. I think and acting seriously. And one of my favorite scenes is like the scene where Al Pacino's got the gun hidden in the bathroom. And I think it is just one of the most intense, edge of your seat scenes in all time. And it's two guys talking at a table, And then there's part two, the kiss of death scene. I think is one of the most brilliant acting choices I've ever seen in life. Like things from those films just like kind of blew me away. But then when I was a little younger, I was like, all about Star Wars, all about Indiana Jones, the sandbag. I also love I think Raiders of the Lost Ark when Harrison Ford is. He gets challenged by the samurai sword guy and he's flipping around. It's one of the most classic scenes ever with one of the most classic stories behind it too, because apparently, so what happens in the scene, as obviously you guys all know, it's one of the greatest things in the world. This guy's like, challenges him, circle surrounds them, a crowd. And the guy's like, flipping, he's got a blade, he's going crazy, and Harrison Ford pulls out his gun and shoots him dead. And it's because Harrison Ford was sick that day, and it was his idea to cut the scene down into just that, and it became one of the most classic moments of that film and that franchise, and just like anything in the last 30 years. Yeah, exactly.
This role was very physical for most of you. I don't know how physical it was for you because
I was in the maze at the end.
Running a bit.
That, yeah.
But there's fighting, there's running. What kind of training did you do? And did anybody accidentally punch the other one in the face or anything like that?
Yeah, me and Chris.
Oh yeah.
Did we get some nicks?
I think I might have hit you in the face.
Oh, dude, I think I hit you a bunch too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not much. Very minimal training. It was a time thing, but B a spirit of the book thing. It's like these are just ordinary kids. There's no reason to train them. They're thrust into this situation in the story. We were thrust into the situation as actors. That's perfect. As the more average we are, the better.
Yeah.
And yeah, nicks and cuts, punches all the time,
And sorry, go
Excellent.
ahead.
Yeah, one of the main high points that I took from the film was the fear and unknown, and not only in the events, but what you guys did. So how did you guys get in that mindset to be in that sort of emotional field?
I think being in the Glade and having such a real environment and feeling like we could be as tactile and kind of immersed in it as we cared to. We were really afforded that opportunity by the director and the producers. And not really, I mean, we shot it in a way where we didn't really go into the maze, until later in the story. So there was an element of the unknown. We were yet to experience what running into the maze was like. And then, we shoot what happens a little later on, you know what I mean? And so that was all unknown too. I mean, of course we have the script and we know what happens, but, when it's 100 degrees in Louisiana and you're shooting dialogue in the middle of a field, you can't even imagine being anywhere else. Do you know what I mean? That was kind of part of it, I think.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah.
When we shot this stuff in the lab, do you remember we were both like, fuck, this is a different movie.
Completely.
Like we did feel completely out of place and we were clean and they'd straightened my hair and we were wearing white and we both, it was so weird. Like it did feel like that just instinctively straight away.
Yeah.
It felt like a completely different scenario.
Yeah, very vulnerable position as characters, very vulnerable position as actors. A lot of, the life imitating the art imitating the life, goes a long way with this film. And again too, we were also, Wes actually originally wanted to attempt to shoot the movie as in order as he possibly could, and some weather things switched that up. But still, we did have very much, more of an order than you originally than you would with other films. So again, that's part of it too.
All right.
Oh, we're
Thank
sorry.
you guys.
We almost did it. Almost. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. I'm sorry
absolutely. Thanks for your time.
Literally have to get on an airplane.